Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm a graduate student at the University of California in Riverside in the entomology department. A good way to remember that the word entomology means the study of insects is that the second letter of both words are the same. This also helps with some confusion between the words entomology, the study of insects, and etymology, the study of word origins. At UCR, I help care for several colonies of insects. In biology, the word colony often means a group of at least two organisms of the same species living pretty close to each other. But when entomologists use the word colony, they usually mean something more specific. An entomologist's colony of insects means they have a species of insect that are kept in an area that is made just for them. Here you can see a colony of mosquitoes I used to work with. Many colonies of insects are allowed to mate and have offspring. Offspring are like the kids of the parent insects. This is allowed so that the colony can continue when the parents who started the colony die. Unfortunately, most insects don't live for very long. However, the stick insect colonies at UCR can go through sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction requires mating between a male and a female insect and means the offspring, or kids, get their genes from both of their parents. Asexual reproduction happens when a female can reproduce offspring without mating. So this means the offspring only get their genes from their mother. Vietnamese and Australian walking sticks, which are the species of walking sticks at UCR, can reproduce asexually or sexually. The mosquitoes in the colony pictured here can only reproduce sexually, and the females need to get a blood meal before they can lay eggs, since they need the nutrients in the blood. Mosquitoes get blood from a host, and some mosquitoes like to feed on humans as their main host, but many other species of mosquitoes feed on other animals as well. To have a successful colony in a lab, the insects must be cared for well and get what they need, like getting blood for these mosquitoes. Giving the insects the right food is really important, in addition to making sure they have access to water if they can't get enough of it through their food. Insects must also be kept at the best temperature, which will vary depending on the species of insect, and many insects also have a light-dark cycle that they do best in. This means that they spend a certain amount of time in the light, which can mimic the sun, and a certain amount of time in the dark, which can mimic the nighttime, or mimic a place where there is no light, like in a cave or underground. Using a biological chamber like the one pictured here lets scientists pick out what temperatures, humidity level, and light-dark cycle the insects are kept in by using computers that control everything. But the stick insects at UCR are kept in a temperature-controlled room, and lights and humidifiers are kept on timers so they can turn on when the insects need them to. Today, I'll show you two of the species we have as stick insects in the colonies at UCR and explain how we take care of them. First, we're starting in the Vietnamese walking stick cage. In the very back of the cage, you can see a larger, mature adult Vietnamese walking stick. And up front, and in my hand in the next shot, is a younger or juvenile Vietnamese walking stick. The adult is a lot bigger than the juvenile. Start doing some of the tasks we do to keep the colony of insects here happy and healthy. You may have noticed that there are a lot of plants in this cage. And these walking sticks are herbivores, and so they eat plants. They also use these plant cuttings we gather for them as a place to rest and hang out on. So we have to make sure the plants are in really good shape by watering them and cleaning them out when they aren't good enough anymore for the insects. In addition to having a humidifier hooked up to the top of the cage, we also spritz them with water so they have access to the right amount of water and humidity. Insects have an exoskeleton on the outside of their bodies that helps them to reduce water loss, since it is sealed in with a waxy layer on the top. But most insects still require at least some humidity in the air to survive. Next, I'll show you these beautiful Australian walking sticks, which are masters of disguise, and they look a lot like a dead leaf, which is another common name for them, the dead leaf insect. I'm also showing the tarsi or feet of the stick insect here because they're just really cool. They have small hooks on the end that help them to grab things, and then a small pad in the middle that also helps them grasp onto things and to climb better. You may also be able to see some of the spikes on these female Australian walking sticks, which they can use for defense. But it's pretty easy to handle them in a way that they don't feel threatened and feel like they need to use these for their defense. On some of the other Australian walking sticks in the cage, you might see some things that look kind of like wings. Female Australian walking sticks have underdeveloped wings and have a much larger body size than their male counterparts. And the male Australian walking sticks have fully developed wings, are much smaller, and can fly. There are no male walking sticks in either of our stick insect colonies, which means these females must produce asexually. And they do that by simply dropping their eggs onto the bottom of the cage, where we have the substrate that's needed for the stick insects, which is a mixture of things like soil, sand, and moss, which helps keep the bottom of the cage at the right humidity levels for the eggs to hatch. Thank you so much for joining me today and taking a tour of the walking stick insect colonies at UCR, and for learning a little bit about how insect colonies are kept.